thing billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes.
This is Wine, Money, and Song. And if you're interested in wine and you want to learn about the best values in wine, please subscribe. This weekend in Bordeaux, the Crown and Pony show of 2022 Bordeaux Entre Premiere starts. And what is that? Every year, the Bordeaux producers and the Bordeaux wine trade put on more than I would say a show of all the new wines from the 2022 vintage that's been in barrel for maybe 6 months. And everyone from around the globe comes and they taste the new wines out of the barrel. And it's a curious thing. Now, when I was in the wine trade, and I worked 2 decades for Seagram Chateau and Estate Wines, we sold Bordeaux futures. And in America, we probably did 80-90% of all the futures. So it was a big part of our business. But the way we did it is we traveled late in the summer, another 4 months later that the wines spent more time in barrel. And we went to the chateaus themselves generally, and we spent 10 days there and we tried the wines. And we would make our buying decisions then. But what's happening this weekend is all the retailers, all the people involved in wine, the wine writers go there, descend upon Bordeaux, thousands of people. And there's a series of dinners, tastings, but generally the important part is the Bordeaux wine industry shows their wares of all the wines, and the people in the trade taste the wines and make a judgment whether to buy the wines or not. Now, it's very early in the aging process of the wine, so you really have to have great expertise in tasting these wines and making the judgments. So, and it's very tiresome to drink 150, 200 wines, and your knowledge is tested, and your endurance in your taste buds is really tested to the limit. But I'm going to go through the advantages and disadvantages and why they're doing this. So why is Bordeaux so important in the wine industry? Well, firstly, it's probably the most famous area that produces wine over the last couple of centuries. Very, very high quality and has a great history. A lot of the other wine producing areas don't have the history. California, after Prohibition, if you really think about it, they've only been making, really popularized the wine since Prohibition, and that's less than 100 years ago. So Bordeaux is deeply encrusted, and worldwide people know Bordeaux. Worldwide, people really don't understand California wines because they haven't been around long enough and they haven't been able to build their history up. So Bordeaux is the blue chip in wine producers. And the key thing about Bordeaux, compared, say, to Burgundy, Bordeaux produces 5 times the amount of wine as Burgundy does. So you can find Bordeaux, but try to find a Romanée-Conti wine. The production is so small, you can't do it. And the prices of Burgundy now are even, skyrocketed and are untouchable by even millionaires. I would think some of the Burgundies are going to be collected by billionaires. That's how expensive the wines are. But these wines, Bordeaux, the gold standard. And everyone who loves wines and drinks wines know about these wines, and they're very interested in them. And that's why they do the entrepreneur presentation. Now, the idea of this is to sell the wine. is to take orders there, and after the people leave Bordeaux, they go back to their clients and their customers, and they they trumpet the wines. And this vintage, 2022, is coming on the backs of 2021, which was really a less than rousing success. A lot of negotiants are left holding the bag on 2021s, and only a few wines sold well. Now, I thought the prices of the 2021s could have been a little lower, but they're sitting there, and it was not a success. Now, they're coming in with the 2022s, and guess what? Production is down about 30%, and inflation is soaring. And last year, when they sold the 2021s, interest rates were around 0.5 point, and now they're between 4 and 5%. So the price of money has gone up. They have less wine to sell. And the question is, what's the quality of the wine? Well, I'm going to tell you, I haven't tasted it yet, but Bordeaux doesn't make bad wines. The quality control and just the expertise in making Bordeaux, they make high quality wines. Now, it's not a great vintage. And to me, when you buy Entrepreneur, you buy great vintages, because great vintages will always go up in price, and there'll always be a market for them. While middling vintages and I wouldn't even say off vintages anymore, because there are far and few between. I think 2011 might be the last off vintage. But the wines that sell, that go up in price, and you're buying Entrepreneur, you're paying now, and you're taking delivery in 2 years. So you're putting your money up front. Why do you do that? You only do it for one reason. You're hopefully getting the cheapest price then, because you can earn 5%, 4% in your bank account the next 2 years on your money, or you're going to put it into the wines now. Now, 2015, 2016, 2019, and some of the 2020s, you did well if you bought right away Entrepreneur. But other vintages like 18 and 21 and 2014, so forth, you didn't do well. So you have to be very selective, and in my opinion, and I haven't tasted the wines, and I'm sure some of the wines are going to be very good, but are they going to go up in value? Only if they get 98, 99, and 100 points. That's the only time they're going to go up. And the vintage in general is going to be a middling vintage. So I'd be very, very careful before I put my money out there and let it sit there for 2 years. And we should learn by the 2009 and 2010 vintages, which are considered to be great vintages. And they still went down 40, 50, 60%. 5 years after the vintage was released, but that had a lot to do with the worldwide economy. And it took about 10 years before those wines came back to the level that if you invested in them, that they came back to what you paid for them. And that's not a good investment. That's not a good investment. And I hate talking about wine as an investment, but that's what Entrepreneur is you're putting your money down now so that you pay the cheapest price that you think you're going to pay. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And as I recall, the 1982 vintage in Bordeaux, I don't know how many times those prices went up. In Chateau and Estate, when we sold the 82s, we had maybe 4 or 5 price rises on the 82 vintage. Now, how can you do that? Well, the Bordeaux producers release a certain amount on release. Excuse me. And Once they're sold, then they come out and they release another tranche, and it's at a higher price, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. So that's how the market works. Now, if the first tranche doesn't sell, the price doesn't move, obviously. And if it doesn't move at all, then eventually the price will have to come down to sell. And that's a true market. That's a true market. So all these people who are being wined and dined in Bordeaux this week, understand something. All the wine writers are going to come home, write great articles about, oh, this wine's really good, it stands out above the rest, this is a good value, this and that. And all the retailers are going to commit, they're going to buy wines, and they pay a certain amount up front, and in a certain time period, they pay another portion, and when the wine's delivered, then they pay the final portion. Most of the retailers who sell the wines take 100% up front from the customers. There's some who take half. So all these people are going to go back home, and they're going to be selling you wine. So you have to understand that. This is a big promotional show, and it's a machine. It's the Bordeaux wine machine, and I wouldn't say it's propaganda, but there's a lot of trade puffery going on. So be very, very careful on whether you commit your money. Now, generally, I like to talk about wines that are great values, and great values means as compared to other wines that it's priced very keenly. But there are so many good wines for around $20, $15 to $30. Excellent wines. And I like to really center myself on that. But my history in Bordeaux and my experience, I have to say something about this, and I have to put my 2 cents in. And I want you to be careful when you commit your money. But Bordeaux wines are great. I have a nice collection, and it is a reference point for wine drinkers. Their past history, famous estates, and the wines have gotten better and better, I must say. They're different. They're riper, they're richer because of many reasons, and global warming is one of them. But they're better. They're better because of winemaking techniques and how careful they are. Now, I said that there's 30% less wines in 2022. So some of the chateaus are not going to have second wines, so they can sell a usual amount of their first wines. Generally, the top Bordeaux estates have at least 2 wines, some have 3, and a few have 4. But the lesser wines are going to be either not exist, second wines or third wines are not going to exist, or they'll be much lower so they can release more of the wines, the first wines. So the selection process will be a little less stringent, I think, during the 2022s. I'm trying to think what other information I can give you, but I personally only buy wines from a great vintage as far as futures, or wines that are going to be very hard to get in the future, very small, or wines that I know that I've heard are very good and are great values for this harvest. So let the show go on. They're going to be there being wined and dined this week. They're going to be trying all the wines, and they'll be coming back, and the band's going to start, and the music starts, and they want your money. And they're going to be blowing smoke up your tailpipe, because this is the wine business. And for the business to go, we all got to get involved. So buyer beware, and I hope they have a good time in Bordeaux this week.